The following content deals with metaphysical concepts and is not meant to take the place of therapy or to provide life advice. Opinions expressed are those of the guests. Hello everyone, my name is Paula deMontigny and welcome back to my podcast. My podcast is Spirit Seekers Beyond the Veil. Welcome. And today we have with us the beautiful and amazing Koren Bear. I'll tell you a little bit about Koren. Koren is a talented energy healer. We're on Vancouver Island, BC. She practices several modalities, including emotion code, body code, belief code, and bioenergy healing. Of course, you're wondering what that's all about, but we'll talk about that. Working with a person's energy body, she's able to help individuals to clear energetic blockages to health and happiness. Having come from a traumatic childhood and being a child of a residential school survivor from the prairies, she has a deep understanding of how trauma can affect individuals on many levels, including physically, mentally, and emotionally. She has worked with both people and animals. She's passionate about healing, expanding consciousness, and understanding the deeper meaning of life. So, fantastic. Welcome, Koren.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, glad to be here.
Yay. All right, so let's talk about healing and raising consciousness on the planet. Let's dig in. So tell me all about what you do, all the modalities that you're into, and how it works.
Yeah, well, there's so many different types of energy healing, and I'm sure your listeners will know about many, but the ones that I work with were developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson. He's from the United States, and it's called Emotion Code, Body Code, and Belief Code. And really, it's about reprogramming your subconscious and releasing any trapped energies. And by energies, I mean trapped emotions that you might have stored when you were a child, or imbalances. We all take on energies subconsciously, from television, from music, from our spouse, from our friends, from our coworkers, from our family of origin. You can get energies from anybody.
Yeah.
And they can also be passed down generational. So if you come from a family where there's generational trauma, chances are that you are probably carrying some of that unconsciously, and that's kind of like an operating system. If you would use the analogy of a computer program or a computer operating system, that's kind of how you operate. And we all just think, this is how I am. But what if you could be different? Maybe, and the example I'll give is maybe you just have a habit and you don't know why. You have a bad habit. Like what you don't know, or you have a small phobia, and you don't know why. You don't know why you have that phobia. Just the way I am. Well, you don't have to be that way, because probably there was something that caused you to take that on, or to be afraid, or not to be able to speak up for yourself, or something like that. So the modalities that I work with, I use muscle testing or applied kinesiology, and I use muscle testing to identify the trapped emotion or the imbalance. And I also I do use I actually use an app, but it really is it's like a guide for you to find out what those energies are, whether it's a blocked chakra or it's maybe a mental imbalance. Like maybe you have something you keep repeating subconsciously, like I'm stupid, or I'm ugly, and you don't even. But that's the energy that you are putting out into broadcasting that out into the ethers or to people around you, and people will pick up on that energy that you're broadcasting. So what I do is I identify what those things are, and then we clear it. And it has elements of traditional Chinese medicine. I mean, I would never purport to be an expert in Chinese medicine, but it does use to clear the energies. We take a magnet and we would run the magnet over our governing meridian after we have identified the imbalance or the trapped emotion or the belief.
Right.
Yeah.
So the magnet does the clearing.
The magnet does the clearing. But there are those that believe that, using your intention will also clear it.
What do you believe?
I still use a magnet, and there are circumstances where you wouldn't use a magnet at all, and that would be if the client was pregnant, or if say the client had like something electronic in their body, like a pacemaker. You would not rub a magnet over the person's governing meridian.
That's right. I didn't even think of that, but that makes sense, right?
Yeah. And it's amazing that what comes up. Like you just don't know what's in somebody's background. When I work with somebody, I don't know what's going to come up, but usually a pattern will start emerging, and you'll say, okay, something happened at say age 5, because the age will keep coming up, and the person may or may not remember what happened to them. And what I say when that happens is, it doesn't matter. It's just energy. It's just trapped energy. Your subconscious is wanting it to clear it and bring it to the surface, so that you can have a better, more fulfilling life.
Right. And we did a session together. Koren did a session on me so I could try it out. And that's what she would say. She'd say, oh, something is coming up at age 5 or 6. And then she'd go age 13 and kind of go through. And it was really interesting. And I can't explain anything of what happened. But I know afterwards I felt really relaxed. So...
yeah. And believe it or not, I actually can work with people, if they're in, of course I can work with them in person, but I can work with anybody anywhere in the world. And I do, most of my clientele I see on Zoom. But a lot of times a client, after they've seen me for a while and they just need a little tune-up, they'll say, just work on me, and then send me the results. And so I will see them sight unseen.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how powerful it is.
So I know there's probably a lot of people that are going, how is that possible? So how is that possible?
Well, if you believe in quantum physics, which I do have a scientific background, so it wasn't a big stretch for me to when you start learning about that and you start realizing when you look at the works of Einstein or Nikola Tesla, and Nikola Tesla, one of them said that everything is energy. And I believe Einstein had a quote, and he called it spooky something at a distance. Like, the gist of it is that there is no space, there is no separation. We are all connected. And whether you believe it or not, these are physicists that believe it. I can honestly say I don't know how it works. I just know that it works.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have a background in science. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how what's your background? How did you get into this work? Like, start from the beginning, I guess. Tell us your story.
My origin story.
Yeah, your origin story.
Well, like you said, I did have a traumatic childhood. I did grow up in an alcoholic home. My father was very violent, and I can attribute that to his upbringing. He's just carrying on the trauma that he experienced. And so, I saw a lot of that. And I'm not the same person that I was 10 years ago or 20 years ago or 30 years ago. But my reason for wanting to or how I got into energy healing was I really wanted to just heal myself. And I was depressed. I had high anxiety. I would get triggered a lot. And, I really wanted an understanding, like, I wanted to be normal. So I started doing a lot of different stuff just to support myself and to just to love myself. Really, that's what it boils down to. If you've ever felt unloved or unwanted, and you just want that feeling, you just want to feel supported and loved. And so I did a lot of different things. I did different workshops, and then I started realizing I do all these workshops, but I didn't do anything with them. And then it was kind of like, well, do you want to be an energy healer? And the thing that was stopping me was that I didn't think I could. I thought you had to have the born ability to do it, and I didn't think I had that born ability. And I realized that anybody can learn the techniques. And I think everybody has a little bit of a psychic ability. And it's just about believing and then working on it yourself, learning the techniques. And really what I did learn is that we all have an energetic field. And we can all impact our energetic field through, again, through the music we listen to the people we hang out with, to what we put in our mouth. And really, what are we consuming and feeding ourselves energetically? Are we eating French fries and hamburgers all the time and drinking a liter of Coke every day, or are we eating healthy fresh food that's nourishing us? And so like I said, it's taken me a long time to learn that everything is energy. Your food is energy. Your thoughts are energy, your beliefs are energy. So you really need to monitor your thoughts. And, for myself, I could honestly say I was a very negative person, and I did walk around with a cloud over my head. And I just didn't want to be that person. When you're just like, you have a vision of what you'd like to be like, but I'm not there yet. I was a person that got triggered easily. I've had low self-esteem, and it impacted my life for sure. So after I started attending, I've taken so many trainings. I've taken the Reikis, I've taken the Silva method, just lots of things. But when something clicks for you and it resonates for you, so this really resonated for me. And the way it started for me was that I had a friend who was giving out. He wanted to practice, and he offered me a free session, and so I took him up on that. And I really honestly didn't think anything happened. Like, I was like one of those non-believers. Okay, that was a waste of time. But about six months later, I realized that I no longer had a phobia that I had before. And that was literally the only thing that I had done. And then I told my sister about it, and I said, hey, you should see my friend and have a session. And because she was a worrywart, and she would constantly worry about everything, and she did. And after she had the session, her husband noticed that she wasn't so paranoid any longer. So you're like, okay, there's something to this. And so when I had the chance to take the training with Dr. Nelson, I jumped on it, and it's been a great journey ever since. And like the other modality that I do is the bioenergy healing, which I took with a healer in Vancouver. And it's just a lovely modality. And it's really about clearing up someone's energetic field. And there's a bunch of hand movements that you do over a person while they're standing. And it's again, the premise is that we have blocked energies, right? So we want to get that we all have this energetic flow in our bodies, and then it should be running clear, right? And if there's any blockages, well, that's when disease happens in our bodies, right? Disease will show up in our energetic field before it will show up in our body. Right. Yeah. So that modality is, it's like they're just different, right? And it's what people resonate with, right? Some people might prefer that modality over the bioenergy healing because it's very physical. Like I said, I'll run my hands over the person. I'll do a series of movements, and at one point I will have them sit down and elevate their legs, but they can literally feel like the energy being the blocked energy being pulled out.
Oh wow.
So you feel it being pulled out, and then afterwards you're like, wow, I feel different, right? And so you may also feel like your ancestors stepping in to help, or you might feel, oh, somebody was touching me or feeling my hand while you were working on me. I've had people tell me that before. So it's like there's different types of fruit, right? There's different types of energy healing.
That's true.
And ultimately, I just want to help people have more joy and happiness in their life, and to just help people.
Yeah. I think that's why a lot of healers do it, right? And do what they do. That's why I do it. It's just you want to help people feel better.
Yeah.
In whatever way you can, even if it's just a little bit, right?
Yeah. I mean, one of the stories that or one of the clients that I had was a young man who was staying with our family. He was going to school at the university, and he had told me that that he had been adopted, and lots of people are adopted, and he came from quite, his family is quite wealthy, and you make up a story about somebody in your head. Oh well, they're rich, their life must be perfect, right? But I really had no idea, and so he one day he came to me and he said, I have no friends. And I said, what do you mean you have no friends? This kid was very good looking. He looked after himself. I just couldn't see him not having any friends. And so I said, okay, well, can I do an energy healing on you? And he said, yes. So I started working with him. And then I said, okay, something came up at the age of 6. And he said, that's when I was adopted. I said, okay, and then there was stuff that happened before 6. And he said, well, I don't remember that, but he was in foster care, so who knows what trauma he may have experienced, or a separation that he experienced while he was in foster care. And the other thing that happened was age 14 started coming up. I said, what happened at age 14? And he said, that's when my cousin told me that my father was actually my biological father. And that what happened was he was put into an orphanage when he was a baby because his family couldn't afford him. But his dad came back and came and got him when he was 6 years old. So he had a belief that he was adopted, but he really was being picked up by his father, except the woman that his dad married was not his biological mother. So there was extreme trauma there, separation anxiety, and so this young man really had put a block around his heart. He did not have a high self-esteem. He was not able to let anybody in to have a meaningful relationship, a friendship, a girlfriend. He didn't trust people to let them in. So, I worked with him to help clear some of that. So that's kind of one of the the more traumatic stories that with a person that I worked with, and it's heart-wrenching. But at the same time, on the other side, like if you're going over a hill and you're on the other side of the trauma, you feel so much lighter. You realize that yes, of course that happened, but it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to rule my life. It doesn't have to. That trauma doesn't have to be in charge any longer. Because if he wanted to have, a happier life or have loving friends, and he was going to have to let that go, and that's hard to do when that is your story.
Yeah. So what happened? Did he end up being able to make friends?
He was able to make some friends. I'm pretty sure I should have, we would have had to keep working together. I mean, healing is definitely a journey, but he said he did feel better and he did feel lighter. And, he was popular with the girls at school. So, yeah.
Very cool. So because you have a background in science, I figure I can ask this, is how does energy work? So we're talking about healing and moving of the hands or using magnets, but how does that, on an energetic level, how does that actually work? How does that look? Do you know?
That's a big question.
I
know. Well, what I would say, I mean, when I'm doing my bioenergy healing, like you're working with a person's energetic field already. And I mean, I could just go like this to you and I could start going like this and pulling stuff out. And you might not feel anything right now, but it's very, very subtle, right? It's very subtle. And we're all made up of protons and electrons. And so, I don't have the scientific proof to say that there's an energetic field around you, but I know there is.
Right.
There is. So what's an example I can give? So if you ever had to go to the hospital for an EKG, they don't put the electrodes on your heart. They put the electrodes on your skin, right? So they're measuring an electric field or electric impulse from your body, right? So there's something that's happening there.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of an MRI and CAT scan because I've had both.
Well,
and it's the equipment's around you; it doesn't actually touch you.
No, it doesn't touch you. Well, we all, most people. I don't have one anymore, by the way, but I used to have a microwave. How does that work? Right? They're projecting whatever into something's happening to your food, right? How does electricity work? We all can just turn on the lights. We don't know how it works. It just does, right? It just does. I've watched enough videos on Einstein or Tesla, Nikola Tesla, to know, how do magnets work, right?
Yeah. Isn't that reverse polarity or something?
Yeah.
The negative and positive repelling each other or attracting, depending on which way you have it. Is that? I don't know. I really don't know. Just ignore that.
Yeah, I've worked with people. I have had a client in Australia. I've worked with somebody in Scotland. I have a client in California. And there were, I have repeat clients. So there's, if they believe it, then then something's happened, and I've had enough stuff on myself. I really am my own best client. The first time that I did a clearing on myself, I learned the technique, and I was just like, that's it, I'm going to town. And so I was just clearing stuff left, right, and center. And the next day, I felt like I had the flu.
Oh.
And what I had done was I put myself in a healing crisis because I really had, just removed so much, and it's like your body's doing a detox. And I just thought I had the flu. And then it was the 2 days after, I just sat on the couch and cried. And I didn't relive anything. They're just the emotion, like your body holds on to stuff, right? And it was just that time to release it and just let it go. And so I did. And the thing is that just you don't judge yourself. Like little kids, if they're having a little temper tantrum, they have a little cry, and then 10 minutes later they're fine, right?
True.
So emotions are meant to be felt and then let go. But if we stay in depression or sadness, if you have a family member that passes away and you just cannot get over the fact that they have passed on, that's holding on to energy. And we're just not supposed to do that. Yes, of course, grieving is a process, but if you're grieving 10 years later, no, I'm sorry. Life is supposed to be lived, and you're supposed to have, yes, there's bad times, but you're supposed to feel joy as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That brings up a couple questions. So one was, you said healing crisis.
Yeah.
So exactly what is a healing crisis?
Yeah. Well, it's like a detox, and it's like you have just detoxed too many things, like sometimes more is not better. Okay. Sometimes it's just like, hey, it's slow and steady, right? And at that time, 10 things was a lot for me. And so I, like cleared 10 trapped emotions, and then I felt it the next day. And, and so like literally your body will have a reaction. That's basically what it is. It's your body having a reaction. And that it's like, I think they call it a Herc-sex reaction. But I mean, you can have a reaction to like doing a physical detox too, right? Mm-hmm. Right? You can feel like you have the flu because you're doing, a parasite cleanse. It's the same thing, really. It is. Yeah, I remember trying to wean myself off coffee once, and I had a 3-month headache. Yeah. 3 months. And so eventually I did, but then I started up again, which was a bad idea. But yeah, it was a painful detox. It was like, physical. Yeah. Like, many people have addictions that aren't that aren't physical addictions, like alcohol or drugs or food. It can be an addiction to complaining. Or have you ever met anybody who's a rageaholic, right? And so once you start detoxing the reasons behind the way, the reasons behind you are the way you are, you're lightening your energetic field, you're lightening your body, and your body has to readjust, because what is happening when you do that is you're raising your vibration. Okay. Yeah. And I mean, why do you want to raise your consciousness? Well, I can tell you from my own experience is that your life is really better. When you raise your consciousness, your life just gets better. That's when you start having those synchronicities happen in your life. Oh geez, wow, I just got a parking spot at Costco, right? Like rock star parking, right? Literally those things start happening to you. Yeah, and you start attracting people into your life, like, oh, geez, maybe some connection comes in that's going to help you get your next job, or your next house, like things like it's like the universe is starting to conspire in your favor, and you're kind of like, that's interesting.
I've heard that before. I've heard that. I used to be a big fan of Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham. And that's what she always used to say, was that when you are raised your vibration to a certain point, that the universe conspires to give you everything that you've asked for. And things start to happen in your life, and you start to meet people who kind of get you on the right road. Yeah. And for what you desire, to have what you desire in your life. And I didn't believe it for many years. I didn't know what she was talking about until I actually did it in my own life. And when I moved here to Nanaimo, and I just changed my entire life, my career, friendship circles, like everything. It was a big leap of faith. But Spirit kept telling me I had to do it. So I was like, okay, fine, I'm going. So here I am, no more accidents. Quit throwing me down the stairs, and quit, pushing me in the shower and giving me car accidents, because I just had so many of them. And I just finally went, no, I'm going. I'm going to listen to what they say. And so here I've been able to raise my vibration, and I'm seeing all those synchronicities, and I'm seeing magic, and I love it. It's like, it's addicting. Mm-hmm. I want more magic now. Yeah. And and as you grow, you may shed some of those friendships that no longer serve you. And there's, it's okay, because everybody is on their own journey, their own spiritual journey, whether they know it or not. And what resonates with them no longer resonates with you anymore, and so there may be a parting of the ways, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the planet is going through a huge shift in consciousness right now, and people are becoming more aware of, how they are in the world, and the energy that you bring to your work or to your family, that matters, right? Whereas before, our parents, it was just about putting food on the table and a roof over the head, remember what was that saying? I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Stop crying, or I'll give you something to cry about. Like that was pretty harsh,
Mm-hmm.
And now we're not like that.
Yeah.
Maybe some people are, but so that's what I'll say about raising your consciousness. There's so many. I can't think of them all, but there's many reasons to raise your consciousness. Mm-hmm. But the main one is that your life just gets easier and gets better, and the universe conspires in your favor.
Yeah. And I think along with that, it gets easier, it gets better. And I also believe, just from what I've seen from people who have raised their consciousness, is that you feel lighter and you feel happier and you feel more joyful and hopeful. And what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you never want to, for me, it's a lot harder now to be around really negative people. It's a lot harder to be around angry people. Sad people, I always want to lift them up. I want to give them hope, and then it's difficult to be around people who don't respect themselves and others, right? I think mutual respect is a huge thing. Mm-hmm. It's like giving people their space to learn their own lessons and to be who they are is really important.
Yeah.
So if someone's not ready to raise their vibration, that's fine. Give them the tools to do it and say, when you're ready, come see one of the energy healers or come see a psychologist or whoever you need to see and be ready to make some big changes and go through those detoxes because they're going to happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the things that sort of shifted, it shifted my perspective was the Map of Consciousness by Dr. David Hawkins.
Oh, yeah.
And again, how did he do it? He was able to map basically the different frequencies, and he equated those frequencies to emotions, and it just gave me an understanding that some people are operating at a lower frequency than me.
Yeah.
And so what that did for me, it was like, it made me understand that, hey, that person was, it took away any of the energy that I had around, oh, that person hurt me. Mm-hmm. It was like, you know what? They were operating at the level of consciousness that they knew, and so that's how they operate in the world. And that's not how I want to be in the world. And yes, that person may have hurt me or done something, but it gave me a perspective. Like I was able to let go of the so-called, or the injury. I have no energy about what happened to me as a child. None.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And for me, I roll into that also as forgiveness. Mm-hmm. Because if I can accept them for where they were at, I've kind of got to the point in my life, when I was in my 30s, I worked a lot on it, but I got to the point where I forgave. Mm-hmm. And that was huge for me.
Yeah.
Forgiving everyone that I thought had harmed me or that had harmed me. And forgiving everyone that had that role in my life. And then I felt free.
Yeah. Yeah, you feel free.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. And I just got chills, so I said that. It's like just being able to, because we are the ones that punish ourselves by holding on to the mm-hmm. anger or the resentment, right?
Yeah.
And if you forgive, you do it with an open heart and you just feel that freedom. Because it doesn't matter if you forgive them or you, or both. If you're forgiving, you're releasing the energetic connection and tie.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're not hoarding that energy, because that pain is your pain. That sadness is your sadness. It's happening in your body and in your energetic field, right? And so when you let go of the pain, the agony, the depression, the anger, the rage, you're getting lighter. You're letting go. You're not holding on anymore, and you're allowing space for good things to come in.
Yeah. And thank you for that reminder, because I I started off my day really poorly, and I was in a bad mood. And things were just happening and happening. And usually I can stop myself and restart. But I was just in this mode, and everything started to tumble. And it's like when you get out of bed, you stub your toe. You've heard that one before, right? Yeah. And then the day just goes on unless you stop, restart, and change your mind about how your day is going to go. Yep. And that's what I needed to do before you arrived, because I was just like, and then now I'm feeling calmer, because I'm like, oh, I could have just stopped it like that. I could have just stopped and said, nope, it's all good. Everything's going to work out, because it is. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do is, don't get me wrong, I mean, when someone cuts me off in traffic and I'm in a hurry or someone's going too slow, I mean, I can just turn on a dime and get mad. And so the thing is that I catch myself a lot faster now. And so the way that I turn that around is I start blessing people as they drive by me. People that are walking on the street, people walking at the bus stop. I don't know who they are, but I just bless them. Bless them, you know. Wow. And it shifts my energy, and I do believe in prayer, so I'm hoping that they had a great day because I was blessing them. Yeah. The other thing that I like to do is just random acts of kindness. You know, I mean, we all have tons of friends on Facebook, and some of them you've never met. And if I have a friend who's sick, you're getting soup. You're getting soup, or you're going to get like a ginger lemon immunity booster shot. You know, we're all in this together, you know, and I just love spreading joy and doing things for people. And I sometimes I'll ask myself, why do you do this? Like, you don't have to do it. No, you do not have to do it. But I would want somebody to do that for me. Yeah. And I want to be that person. So it's ultimately about spreading love.
Yeah. And it's funny because I'm not a religious person. And I've said this before in my interviews, but these ancient texts always come into my brain, like treat others as you wish to be treated yourself, right? Like do unto others as you wish to be done to you, or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly that. You know, you like to treat other people well and to make them feel good, because then you feel good, but also you love to be reciprocated sometimes. Yeah. Right?
Well, I just like helping people. I don't like, it just literally, it's wired in me that I love helping people.
Yeah. That makes sense, being a healer.
I guess that's what it is.
Yeah, totally. And then I was thinking about the whole, why is this important to raise consciousness? So let's go there. Because I sometimes wonder, are we making a difference? You know, I was in Vancouver yesterday, and the energy was actually lighter than the last time I've been there. Last time I came home and I was just like, and this time it was a little less, but also a lot of people were out of the city because it's the holidays. So it was great. My friend and I commented, like, it's so nice when everyone leaves town. You know, it was quiet and people weren't running into you on the street, and it was really actually a beautiful kind of a calm energy. Yeah. Until we got into one part of town where it was like, oh no, here we go. It was just, it's negative in this part of town, and there's a lot of drug addiction and homelessness, and we just could feel it right away. But I was like, so why is it important, right, for us to raise the vibration, raise consciousness and the energy?
Yeah. Well, I do believe that the earth is like a living being, and I definitely, there are pockets right now. We know that there's wars going on in different places on the planet, and I think it's our responsibility as humans. Once you reach a certain level of consciousness, you affect others around you. You affect the consciousness around you. So if enough people raise their consciousness, then we're going to be impacting those places where there are famine, where there are wars, where there's whatever, any kind of strife. You get to help the collective consciousness elevate itself and raise its consciousness. So I feel it's my responsibility to help others and to lift them up, but as more people raise their consciousness, we affect more people, we change the consciousness on the planet, and I believe we will move away from war, and we will be focused on making sure that everybody has food and health care and are supported or have housing.
It's my dream.
Yeah.
And there's different camps, two really distinct different camps about this. And we had this conversation around this table one night. We had a games night, and a couple friends came that believe we're going the other way. And they're talking about getting a home in the country and stockpiling and filling, creating a bomb shelter and all these things. And they're in fear mode.
Yeah.
And it was so difficult for me because I was trying to share my point of view, which is more in line with what you're talking about. Whereas I see a world where people help each other, where people are good, where people, there's enough for everybody. And that's what I'm hopeful for.
Yeah.
And so trying to share that with them was impossible because they've got their mindset.
Yeah.
This is the way it's going to be. And I just I thought, it was funny that night, I thought, we're going different directions. You're going to a different world than I am.
Yeah.
They're going to live on different planets. Whatever that means. Different dimensions of our planets or different, I don't know, it just felt different. And I could feel we're going to detach at some point.
Like I said, everybody's at their own level of consciousness. So if you believe the world is going to hell in a handbag, that is your belief. And you have every right to believe that. But if you raise your consciousness and you just, you believe like, what, everything's working out for me. Guess what? Everything's going to work out for you. And it may be a difficult concept for people to understand at this point. But, if you want to, everybody starts where they start, and so it's like, okay, well, this interests me. I want to learn more, right? So you, take a class or you go for an energy healing but you have every right to stay where you are and live the life that you have currently and not change.
Yeah.
But, but I needed to change because I was a worrywart and I didn't like the way that I lived.
Yeah. And if you wanted something different for your life, something more, which makes me think, I always say to clients, you create your own reality. It's about manifestation and creating the life that you want. I said, you created where you are now in your life way back, maybe 10 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. But knowing that, doesn't that give you more power? Doesn't that give you more, instead of feeling like, oh, poor me, playing a victim, or feeling like, oh my God, I'm so scared I did that unconsciously. It's like, why don't you see that as a powerful thing and say, that's fantastic. I created that. Right? So then if you created that, what else can you create? And how amazing and exciting is that? Think about what you can create.
Yeah.
Now, moving forward.
Yeah, instead of living in fear, why not live in joy and happiness and love?
Yeah.
Or feeling empowered. I know a lot of people will feel disempowered because of their childhood or because of the relationship they're in. But as you start working on yourself and shifting your own energy, you will start realizing, oh my gosh, okay, I had all the power. I didn't know it, but I had it in me.
Hey, that sounds like the Wizard of Oz. Feel like Dorothy. I had the power within me the whole time to go home.
I want those the ruby
slippers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know with the energy healing, and I think it's a powerful tool to help with raising the consciousness. I do, and I see it all the time in people that I know that have gone to see, people like you, and I have other friends that do energy healing too, and myself, and they always seem to just be a little bit better, right? And I think that's the thing. It's like bit by bit by bit.
Yeah.
You can't expect a miracle. It's all going to happen at once. But just a little change, a little increment gives you hope.
Yeah, it does. I mean, a perfect example is, probably about a month or so ago, I woke up in the middle of the night and I felt like I had arthritis in my hands. Now, the logical me could have said, oh, well, that's part of getting old. And I could have bought into that story. But I was like, I decided to do an energy healing on myself. And, I don't, I obviously stuff came up. I cleared it. I didn't think anything of it. And the next day it was gone. It didn't become my reality because I didn't believe in it. And that whatever was causing it, I released it. So that sounds implausible, but this is what happens with energy healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. And some people will still look at this and still won't believe it, but whatever. If you're curious enough, book a session and feel for yourself. That's how I started. I didn't believe it. So I decided to try it.
Yeah. I agree. And that's why I also believe there's so many different types of modalities. Like even within your own practice, you practice several, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if one doesn't work, like body code doesn't work for somebody, maybe emotion code will, or maybe
bioenergy healing.
Or
Reiki. Yeah.
Yeah. So all these things are tools that you can use, and you see which one works for you. It's like tuning forks don't work for me. They do nothing. But I have a friend that just, it's like her nirvana. Tuning forks. She uses it every morning, and I'm just like, oh, it's fantastic. It works for her because it does nothing for me, right? Yeah. But I do have things that do work for me. Like drumming on my back gets rid of tension like that. If I have a drum or someone's beating a drum on my back, just like, oh, lovely, thank you.
Yeah,
just gets rid of all that energy, that tension, and I feel clear. So it's finding what resonates with you.
Yeah, what resonates with you.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you don't know, try it out. Try everything out. Go try it all. Figure out which makes you tick. Or makes you sing, I think.
That's right.
Okay, so I think, do you have any last things you want to share or before we give your information how to contact you?
I don't think so. I think I've said everything I need to say today.
Okay. So you can find Koren at, what's your website and your email or whatever?
My website is Spirit Bear Healing, and my email is korenspiritbear@gmail.com. And if you read my blog post on my website, you'll find out why it's called Spirit Bear Healing. There's a whole story about that, and it has to do with my grandfather. So it's a really nice story. So
it's a beautiful story. So go check it out.
Yeah, and you can book a session with me if you like.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you for coming again, and hopefully this will all work out. So thank you for being here today, and everyone can check you out online on your website. Check out your page and send you some messages and book in a session online. And I thank you all for being here as well. And we will see you next time on Spirit Seekers Beyond the Veil.